Hey guys, have you ever been in a situation where it's just unlikely? In fact, you might even use the word impossible for God to do anything. It just seems like this is never going to work. Well, Elijah actually created a situation just like that. Let's find out why on today's episode.
Welcome to Everyday Truth with Kurt Skelly. We believe the Bible is true and relevant to everyone, everywhere, every day. If today's conversation is a help to you, take a moment to leave a review or share it with a friend. Thanks for listening. Now, let's join Kurt for today's episode.
Hey guys, welcome back. 1 Kings chapter 18 today. We are right at the edge of the battlefield. Not really a battle, but a contest between Elijah and the prophets of Baal and the additional prophets of Jezebel, 850 to 1. Now, I don't know much about odds, but I know that those are bad odds, humanly speaking. But when God is on the side of the one, then it's really bad odds for the 850, as we're going to see today. So we have Elijah, who has been told by God, go find Ahab. That's already happened. Ahab has not yet taken responsibility. It's your fault, said Ahab to Elijah. Elijah said, no, it's not my fault. It's your fault. I'm pretty sure you caused this, but let's find out. Let's have a little contest and we'll find out which God is the God. Because the issue here is not rain or the lack of rain. That's a consequence. The issue here is not majority versus minority. You have 850 prophets of Baal or false prophets. You have one true prophet that's standing there that day. There are other prophets in the land. So this is not a majority thing. This is not even an economic thing. No, this comes down to the real issue here is, who is God? The real issue here is a matter of worship. And I will say that really every sin comes down to that. We want to make sin about, well, stop lying or stop lusting or stop being angry or stop. But really, sin comes down to one's theology. It really comes down to, what do you believe about God? What do you believe about the presence of God? What do you believe about the holiness of God? At the end of the day, all sin is a relational affront to God. So here in 1 Kings chapter 18, Elijah and the prophets have gathered. And watch how Elijah frames the contest in verse 21. So Elijah came unto all the people. So there are the prophets, 850. That's a lot of people. There's Elijah. There's the king. There's the royalty. But then there are the people. And Elijah is allowing the people to kind of be the jury. They are the ones that are spectating, that will ultimately make a decision based upon the contest that they are witnessing. So Elijah came unto all the people. He said, how long halt ye between two opinions? So halt means to limp between two. You don't really have your weight on one or the other. The Bible calls this double-mindedness in other places. A double-minded man, James taught us, is unstable in all its ways. And so the people have been watching this unfold. They have grown up worshiping Jehovah God, maybe not with a great fervor, and maybe not in the way that God ought to be worshiped, because Jeroboam had set up that false worship system, but at least they were saying they were worshiping God. But now Jezebel comes and Baal worship is introduced and people don't know what to do. Because of the vacillating leadership, people don't know what to worship and where to worship and who to worship. And they can't put their weight down on anything. And what Elijah does is Elijah calls that out, because unless we have wholesale confidence in the God whom we serve, we'll never be victorious, right? Whatsoever is not of faith is sin. We have to know what we believe and why we believe it. We've got to put all of our eggs in that one basket. So Elijah is speaking to the vacillation. He's speaking to the instability of the people themselves. And here's what he says. There's really one choice to be made. If the Lord be God, follow him. If the Lord be God, follow him. If God is real, if Jehovah is creator God, that's what Elijah means, by the way, then follow him. That should be the natural response of anybody who says he believes God. And if we don't follow God and say that we believe him, then is that valid faith at all? What James would tell us in James chapter 2 is no, that's not valid. That's a dead faith. So if the Lord be God, follow him. But if Baal, then follow him. Hey, maybe Baal is God. We'll give the prophets of Baal an opportunity to demonstrate if they serve the true God. And if Baal is the true God, then we ought to be worshiping him. We ought to be following him. And the people answered him not a word. So you see, the people didn't know what to do. Elijah has already called them out for their instability, and they're afraid to make any call to loyalty to either one of them. They just don't know. They're going to wait this thing out. There is not a spirit of commitment either way. Look at verse number 22. Then said Elijah unto the people, even I only remain a prophet of the Lord, but Baal's prophets are 450 men. Now, did Elijah believe that? I think so. Was that true? Not really, because Elijah made this same, not declaration, but almost complaint to God some days later, all the way down at Mount Sinai. And God said, Elijah, you are not the only one. There are 7,000 that have not bowed their knee to Baal. And even earlier in this passage, Obadiah has told Elijah, hey, there are at least 100 prophets that I have hidden in caves. So this is not entirely true, but I'm not going to make a big deal about it because in this moment, Elijah, at least in this contest, Elijah was the only one there representing God. And it says in verse 23, let them therefore give us 2 bullocks. Let them choose 1 bullock for themselves, cut it in pieces, lay it on wood, put no fire under it. And I will dress the other bullock and lay it on wood and put no fire under it. So here's the contest. We both get an animal for sacrifice. They can choose the one they want so that there's no manipulation, there's no magic cow that I get. And no. They can choose their bullock. I'll choose mine. And we will slay it and put the meat on the altar in the prescribed way. The only thing we're not going to do that you would normally do at an altar is we're not going to put any fire under. We're not going to light the fire. We're going to let God light the fire, whatever God is real. And 24, call ye on the name of your gods, and I will call on the name of the Lord, and the God that answereth by fire, let him be God. So there's the contest. So we'll both have an altar. Everything's equal. You get to choose the bullock. Everything will be the same. You pray to your God. I'll pray to my God. Whichever God answers. And the answer must be demonstrable. The God that answers by fire, then that will be the God. That's the contest. And all the people answered and said, it is well spoken. Well, now they're talking. They couldn't answer before because there was no criterion by which they could make a decision. But there's no wiggle room here. I mean, this would be very obvious. If a fire started with no wood, with no fire-making material, and then that would be clear that was a supernatural act of God. So the people said, that is a great idea. We are all on board. So the parameters have been set. The rules have been read. Now the contest begins. And it says in verse 25 that Elijah said unto the prophets of Baal, choose you 1 bullock for yourselves, dress it first, for ye are many, call on the name of your gods, but put no fire under. And they took the bullock which was given them, and they dressed it, and they called on the name of Baal from morning until noon, saying, O Baal, hear us. But there was no voice, nor any that answered. They leaped upon the altar which was made. I mean, they are getting demonstrative now. It came to pass at noon that Elijah mocked them and said, cry aloud. Hey, maybe you're not talking loud enough. For he is a God. Either he's talking, maybe he's busy, maybe he's talking to somebody else, or maybe he's pursuing, maybe he's hunting, or he's on a journey. Maybe he took some time off, or peradventure he sleepeth. Maybe he's just taking an afternoon siesta and must be awakened. I mean, Elijah is just playing this to the hilt. Hey, call louder. I mean, he's busy and stuff's going on and you guys aren't being nearly loud enough. And maybe you just need to get more into it. It says in verse 28, and they cried aloud. They cut themselves after their manner with knives and lancets till the blood gushed out upon them. Aren't you glad that we serve a God that doesn't call us to self-flagellate ourselves, to bring self-harm, to cut ourselves? And yet they're doing everything they can to curry the favor of a God that does not exist. And what's really sad to me is that these men really believe this. They are entirely duped. They have given their whole soul over to this false religion. And it came to pass when midday was past, and they prophesied until the time of the offering of the evening sacrifice all day long. They are at this, that there was neither voice, nor any to answer, nor any that regarded. All they got was silence. And they were bloodier. They were more tired. They were embarrassed. They were chagrined. They had been mocked, but they had accomplished nothing. Why? Because there was nothing to accomplish. Now it's Elijah's turn. Look at verse 30. And Elijah said to all the people, come near unto me. Okay, everyone come, gather around. All the people came near unto him, and he repaired the altar of the Lord that was broken down. So this is very interesting. Elijah does not build a new altar, but there's an altar that existed on Mount Carmel that way back in the day was used for worshiping Jehovah God. And so what Elijah was doing here was very strategic. Yes, I'm going to build this altar. I'm going to refurbish it, but I want to bring back what once was. I want to repair what once was a valid place of worship to God. I want to do this in front of the people. And it says in verse 31 that Elijah took 12 stones, according to the number of the tribes of the sons of Jacob, unto whom the word of the Lord came, saying, Israel shall be by thy name. And with the stones he built an altar in the name of the Lord. He made a trench, like a ditch, about the altar, as great as would contain 2 measures of seed, so a deep ditch around the altar. He put the wood in order, so he set the wood on the altar. He cut the bullock in pieces. He laid him on the wood and said, this is the amazing part, fill 4 barrels with water. Now, water was scarce. So take the little water you have, 4 barrels full, and pour it on the burnt offering and on the wood. If you ever try to do a campfire, even with a lighter, even with kerosene, if things are wet, it's hard to start a fire. Now there's nothing to start the fire. There's no fire. And yet he's pouring water on the sacrifice and on the wood, wet wood. And he said, do it the second time. They did it the second time. He said, do it the third time. They did it the third time. And the water ran about the altar and filled the trench also with the water. This is the least likely scenario for this altar ever to be lit up with fire. I mean, if this sacrifice is consumed by fire, then it's an irrefutable act of God. And that's exactly what Elijah is doing. Elijah doesn't want there to be any human explanation for what God is about to do. You know, sometimes God does that in your life and in my life. Sometimes it seems like things get soggier and soggier, and situations become less and less likely for anything to happen of value. And yet sometimes the reason why God does those things, even invites those things, as in this case, is to show himself that much more strong, so that when the victory comes, when God shows up, nobody can claim that this was human effort, this was some kind of shenanigans. This had to be God. Oh God, do things in my life that are so clearly you that everybody that looks on, the people that gather near around will know, God, you must have done it because nobody else could have. Now we'll stop there in verse 35 and we'll finish out this chapter next episode and we'll tell you what condition came whereby the rain could now come. We'll talk about that next episode. Until then, have a great day in the Lord. God bless you, my friends.